Here once again. I think we had a session together last year, and it happens to be that among the chosen ones to interact with you tonight. So I'm very happy to be amidst of you. I was shared this topic, career pathways and career choices. And it's very broad, but I will attempt to discuss with you. We discuss together such that we learn from one another. So I don't know if it's the right time to start. My name is Dan Muramuzi. I'm a BNS 2016, Masters 2019, 2022. 2023 started my PhD journey. Maybe 60% of it. So there's some progress. So that's me. The profile is not big. That's how small it is. But we can share and learn from each other. I'm not an expert in career career guidance and career professional growth, but it's an attempt that we discuss together today, and we learn from each other. So the purpose I know from the fellowship community, the nurses and midwives fellowship community, is to build the capacity of members, to have them learn new things, to reshape the thinking process and redirect maybe their walks of life. So maybe that's why this topic was chosen as we start the new year. So I thought to understand the career pathways, the career choices, it is important that we understand um, the state of our profession, because sometimes you don't want to start from zero. You need to know what is the current situation on ground. Where do we come from? What developments have happened within the profession, such that it shapes now the future, or it shapes the choices we make in future. So I picked some of these few statistics to guide today's discussion. And I wanted to also make a disclaimer that I may often mention nurses, but literally I'm including nurses and midwives, but it becomes a bit vague to keep saying two professions concurrently. So every time I refer to nurses, it may be acceptable to also refer that discussion to midwives. So as of a few years ago, there's some reports that we are around 58,000 registered nurses. We know that they contribute tremendously to the health sector, approximately 70%. But the key statistic in this is that less than maybe 10%, 10 to 15, hold degree program. And this is very key in the sense that for a profession to advance from a vocation to a professional level, you want to have a significant number of professionals with a degree as a minimum. That's when you start to say that the profession is growing. When this figure of 15 is approximately 30, is approximately 40, that's when you start to say that the profession is growing, because the representatives of the profession have now acquired what is internationally recognized as a professional course. Otherwise, when you have a bigger group of people who form the professional image as certificate and diploma, then it is more still, it more or less subscribes as a vocational program. So when we bring these statistics, it helps colleagues on call to think through why this is very, very important. And whereas the number may look big, 58,000, when you look at what is recommended, the staff to nurse to patient ratio, we are still so much below the WHO standards, 1 to 11,000. That's almost 11 times below the WHO benchmark. When you look at the figures, when you look at the staffing levels in our facilities. But then, whatever happens in the country or whatever happens in every sector is shaped by some key policy documents. And in our training, some of these documents, we are not introduced to them, maybe because they think they may not be relevant during the academic programs. And we end up finding these documents when we finish, when we graduate, or we are writing reports, or we are writing some grants. And you find that to win a grant or to progress in writing a project, then you must have these reference documents referenced to ensure that whatever you're going to do aligns with them. So one of the key documents is National Development Plan 4. We have just concluded NDP 3, and now we are implementing the National Development Plan 4. And this document is very key because it highlights the national priorities in all sectors: agriculture, energy, health sector, environment, name them. So which means every time Ministry of Health is introducing programs or projects or interventions, they must align to the National Development Plan. And so, as we discuss, I will invite you, colleagues, if you feel you want to document something, you can document. If you want to interject and give some additional input or clarity or further a question, then you can still come in and we have this as a discussion. Then the second document, which I invite you colleagues to review in line with health sector performance or in line with health sector development, is Vision 2040. So Vision 2040 also highlights national priorities. And for purposes of our core and the purpose of the profession we align with, then you go to the health sector and see where are the priorities of Ministry of Health and government in line with Vision 2040. So it helps us to, as we plan, it helps us to know if I advanced in a program, let's say gerontology, that is care for elderly and mental health issues. It's a priority of government because in the next 30 years, most of us are going to be above 55 or 60. That means that the diseases of the elderly are going to be high. And the diseases of elderly sometimes goes with the diseases of the poor. So you will find that people who are going to advance their career in programs that address such ailments will be of higher advantage compared to others who are still focusing on infectious diseases. So that's something I wanted to start with, such that we have a very broad view of thinking around this topic because it's very complicated and it's very wide. So the second slide, I have very few slides, only 16. The second slide looks at self-assessment, and we shall keep referring to this slide for the subsequent slides. And I will invite you, colleagues, after this slide, you will come to the chat and type something. So, careers, it's a given, it's a principle. And it goes ahead to say that when the career is misaligned, you'll find it hard to achieve what you anticipate to do or what you anticipate to achieve, regardless of how much talented you are. I will give an example. When we were in secondary, people who knew mathematics, let me use mathematics as an example, who loved it and had passion for it, spent them to revise it, but eventually passed it. But because they attached a value to it and it became that line. Now I will pose some few questions. We have four domains that normally guides our professional disciplines. And one of them is the clinical practice, which you can say caring and serving. And this focuses on direct patient care being involved in hospital setting, clinic setting, labs. Does your career aligns with that domain? If you check, I hope, colleagues, you have a notebook, you have somewhere to write. When you check from the bottom part of your heart, I don't know if it is the apex, whether it's the Purkinje fibers, whether the ventricles, I don't know. But when you soul search your heart, does your career align with caring and service or clinical practice? For those who align with that, please tick. For those who do not, we go to the second one, which is learning and teaching. In advanced models, then they will say education, but then the essence is learning and teaching. And it is based on a fact that people who want to read, people who want new knowledge, people who want to understand new things, they find clinical practice a bit stagnated because you're doing things almost the same things from Monday to Friday, January to December. So that person will not find it easy to keep in a clinical setting because if it is not maybe a regional referral where there are ward rounds, where there are clinical sessions, there are regular CMEs every week, that person will find it very hard to keep in a clinical setting. So they would rather go for education as a discipline where they have a lot of new knowledge searching and application of new knowledge. And if your values align with that, then your career may be shaped by that, and you will find that your passion, your aspirations are to advance, but then the choice should be to which discipline. Then there are others who are advocates 24/7, who they identify gaps. They want to help others sort issues very fast. They want to make sure that things align with organizational goals and objectives. Those are leaders, and they find peace with that. So as we are discussing, you keep touching your heart and asking, do I align with any of these three so far? or mine is the other one, the advocacy, the change makers. So I will pause here. I can't see my I can't see the charts. I want all of us to post in the chat in one word, what value drives your nursing practice most deeply? For us who are on call, if you are to say, this is where my passion is, what value from what we have shared up here drives you much? I want to see messages in the chat. I see Joreen learning and teaching Jew. Okay, interesting. Interesting. I see in Gobi Stewart, advocacy plus leadership. Thank you, Gobi. Sylvia, learning and teaching, teaching and clinical. That is a double-edged sword. You want to be in two disciplines. That is uh, Evelyn Okelo. So the essence of this is that we find we find it easy to X%. There is someone whose audio is on. That's Henry and Lillian. Please, you can mute. Okay, thank you so much. So that's the exercise. So when you find what you love most, it becomes easier to execute it. And it becomes easier to search for new knowledge in that discipline because you're not doing it because it is for fun, but that's where your heart is. But then these must be aligned with the first slide, which was looking at the NDP for Vision 2040. Someone may bring Ministry of Health strategic plan. Someone may bring the scope of practice because you don't want to study something that you cannot earn from it. That is something you have to keep reflecting on. So this slide is a complement to the previous one, but then this one brings the key career competencies. I identified 6 from the literature that I did, and one of them are the key competence that we need to have is evidence-based practice, health system thinking, advanced clinical reasoning, professional leadership, research and scholarly, and global health literacy. So we need to identify and understand these competencies because they still align with the core domains of the previous slide, and they help us to shape our career choices. I brought this ladder on the second point, academic ladder, because I do not know our composition on core. But our academic ladder is slightly different because we start with certificate, we have a diploma, then we go to a degree. Now, from degree, the ladder is the same, irrespective. Some go for postgraduate diploma, maybe they don't want to rush to masters, but others immediately from a degree, they go to masters and progress to PhD. Now, this is where there is some magic. If someone is interested in clinical practice as a domain, caring and service, then this career is very important for them because when you look at the human resource manual of Ministry of Health, if you look at the scope of practice, qualification and description, is it qualification and description? Job specifications, they have now, government has started recruiting people with masters into clinical practice. And when you look at the positions at the district, the position of ADHO, Principal Health Officer, they want someone with masters in nursing science. It could be masters of nursing science in critical care, masters of nursing science in mental health, in pediatric, in women and reproductive health, in pediatric, in palliative care. They all qualify at that level for such positions. And of course, when you come to Ministry of Health, come to commissioners at regional referral hospital, assistant commissioners at referral hospital, their job specifications and requirement. So someone who wants to be in clinical practice, who has passion, then you don't want to progress from a degree, then you go for public health. And yet your passion is bedside care. You would rather go for masters in a clinical course, mental health, speed, women, obstetrics, uh, whatever, the ones that have been accredited and registered by Uganda Nurses and Midwives Council. Because also you don't want Midwives Council, you are not registered. It is also bad. Recently, I was discussing with friends at the council, because the East Central and Southern College of Nurses introduced fellowships, and they looked very nice and attractive. But the question and concern was that those fellowships are not recognized by our council. So for someone who wants to do them, you don't want to invest money in something that will not be recognized by government. And these are things we need to keep pushing and learning, pushing and learning. So for someone who wants to be in clinical practice, focus within the specialties of nursing that are going to help you advance your career, but also keep relevant. The essence of studying at the end of the day is to get knowledge but earn from it. If you add knowledge but you can't earn from it, then you have somehow wasted time. That's something I would want to comment. And someone who wants to advance in research, in administration, then their career paths might be different from this. So this is the pathway one that looks at clinical specialization. And I know that most universities now have various accreditations and various approved programs. We see almost every year a new program is introduced. Mbarara has introduced new programs. Muni Makeve has a program of care. And with the So again, you want to check cause effort. It becomes a passion thing. You've seen people who play on the street, even when it is raining, they are praying. Their mic is loud. It is driven by passion to change people's perception, people's understanding of Christ. So passion and values are very key. Don't rush because you saw that image and now you also want to do MPH. But inherently, you like systems, you like leadership. So you would rather put focus there and create innovative.
Hello, Mr. Dan.
Sorry, friends. I think I dropped off. Is it the same slide?
I think the previous one.
Okay.
That one, yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
I don't know when I dropped off. I saw the internet. Yeah. So I was coming to the first clinical specialization because I don't want to take much of your time. It's already a choice. Then you want to make sure it aligns with the scope of practice, the approved schemes of service. Because at the end of the day, when you take a program, you want to go to the council and get registered. So it will be unfortunate for you to go to the council and they can't register you, and yet you've spent maybe 2 years on the program or 3 years. That's the message that whoever. I want to change the device that is giving me internet such that I don't keep breaking. But if you can confirm, is that better?
Yeah, it's better, and I think your voice is now very audible.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we can go to the second pathway, which is academic and research. We have seen a number of our friends publish work on the forum where I am, where I have opportunity to see the outputs, the interaction. I've seen a number of publications, at least every 2 months, or if not every month, we see someone posting a published article where our friends are first authors, or they are co-authors, or is a senior author. But we also see that most of our work, most of our referenced literature in nursing care and nursing practice, whatever, most of the work is coming from nurses from abroad, and some medical guys are doing nursing research. So it's an area that is still a big gap in terms of publication, in terms of evidence synthesis, in terms of uh, project, research-led projects. So if you want to advance a career here, then you have to prepare and develop some sort of skills that will help you to navigate through this area. It's very complicated. It's very labor intense because there is a lot of commitment that is expected of us. So you have to prepare your advanced training from a degree level. Then you have to focus on programs that are going to help you achieve this career path. Some of them are here. If you wanted to do a master's, there are programs like epidemiology, biostatistics, health services research, public health, health informatics. So they help you to prepare you to this career. And it means that your values are driven by someone who wants to advance knowledge. There is a quote up that the knowledge builder who shapes the next generation. If you want to be part of the knowledge economy, people who provide solutions that are robust, are using advanced methods, then this is the kind of person you're going to be. But there is a caveat. When you go to Western world, research is performed by mostly PhD holders. The assumption is that at PhD, you've now reached a point where you can generate new knowledge. There is a philosopher who said that at masters, you're trying to prove that you understand the existing knowledge. So you know what the global community is believing in, or has published, or has produced, or is available at hand. Then at PhD, you're now attempting to generate new knowledge, having understood what already exists. So if you see calls for fellowship, if you see calls for new early career researchers, then you see them saying that these are postdoc programs. So it means if you want to be a serious academician and a researcher, then your focus should be to acquire skills that will lead you to a PhD. Then you start writing with authority. But I've seen friends of recent, I saw someone being celebrated, I think the PNO of Cancer Institute, someone who was from Uganda Nurses Council. She was a quality assurance officer. I think last year, a lady called Face. Recently, a lady called Kawami Jane. They all finished their PhDs and they have been managing big projects. So it shows you that if you want to advance your career in research, then it's better you do masters. That is going to help you understand research methods early and also do PhD early. So it also gives you an opportunity to join academic institutions at an early age, and you become relevant to the society and you participate in knowledge economy. The third pathway, which is health leadership and administration, the topmost position we have in the country is the Commissioner of Nurses at the Ministry of Health. Sometimes when she's being invited for international conferences or activities, some invitations may come as a chief nursing officer, because there are some countries where the topmost leadership, uh, the seal of nursing is the chief nursing officer. But all this starts from being ward manager, being area manager, being departmental head, being a facility manager. So these skills can also be sharpened as early as possible, but also from the lowest level. And if your passion is in leadership, helping people solve problems, creating alternatives, then this is where your line should be. Rest you can mute, please. So the fourth, which is policy and advocacy, where commonly seen, is trying to advocate for others, advocate for vulnerable groups, advocate for people who need additional voice, people who may want to be supported. If that's the kind of the person, then there are also programs that can help you achieve this. But to advance here, then you must, the entry point for me as a person if you're this person who likes socializing, if you're this person who likes being associated with people, you want to be member of almost every WhatsApp group. You want to be a member of the OBs and OGs forum. If you want to be a member of coffee farmers, then just to know inherently you want to belong and you want to be part of the team that is thinking for others, then this is where your values may be. So I'm a member of the Association of Graduate Nurses and Midwives of Uganda. I was previously as executive secretary. So I invite colleagues who are graduates to join and be part of the team that is trying to to move forward the standardization of nursing in Uganda to ensure that we advocate for changes that are of value to the profession, not at individual level. So this is where your pathway may be. But this is a slide that can be just chipped in, is that we need to ensure that as we plan to advance our careers, you need to be, you need to fulfill the obligation of professionalism. As nurses, our duty and our responsibility is to ensure that we have up-to-date and active registration status every 3 years. Even if you are a farmer now, it is important that your license is active because one day your mother will fall sick and you will need to prescribe for her. So if anything happened and your license expired, then they would say that she was working out of the scope because he's not licensed at that time. They introduced a policy last year that to renew license, I think effective July this year, you needed to have CPD points. So it is important to read the CPD point, I think, guidelines and standards to ensure that you're not caught off guard because it will be unfortunate to go and they tell you you have not accumulated the minimum number of CPD points to renew your license. And there are various avenues where you can accumulate these points. I think there is WHO online platform, there is WeChair. I think it's a platform that works with with Uganda Nurses and Midwives Council. There are other registered entities here that normally provide webinars and they award CPD points. So I can actually invite the leadership of the fellowship community here to see the possibility of applying to the Nurses Council and you also become CPD awarding points because this session is almost taking an hour and such a long session can actually add you points because this is learning. I've already talked on these documents, which are the reference documents for every activities we are doing. You have to ensure that the whatever plan you have, if it is to be beneficial to you and the community and the country, aligns with Vision 2040. For instance, now, if you wanted to do a research study, then the gap should be, uh, the justification should be in line with Vision 2040, should be in line with NDP4, should be in line with Ministry of Health Strategic Plan, should reference Sustainable Development Goals. That communicates a lot to the funder because it shows that you're aware of what is existing and you're aware of the policy direction of government, of agencies, and the bigger global community. So these are some of the resources we have to get familiar with, but also know how to identify gaps and align them with what we want to do. I think I have some links at the end of this slide, maybe for colleagues who may want to follow up. Then the other issue that we need to strengthen as we advance our career and make right choices is the issue of mentorship. There are two forms, the formal and informal, but the informal is very, very powerful. So one of the experts in mentorship advises that if you want to mimic someone's career lineage, then you have to shadow their practices. For instance, if you want to be a researcher, then you want to identify someone whose career has been predominantly in research. And then you see how they behave, you see what they do, you see how their programs run. Then eventually you have discussion with them. This helps to redirect the focus of the mentorship, but also understand the context in which these people have reached where they are. There are form ones where you have 1 week, 2 week session, 1 month, or full year, or periodic. But the best is to shadow someone whom you admire, whose achievements align with your aspirations. Have discussion with them, make a program, make deliverables, and work towards achieving them. I will not talk much about mentorship because it's very complex, but the take message, the takeaway message from this is that if you admire someone's ways of life, then you need to live exactly the duplicate of what they do. That's when you can achieve uh, what you want. But the only challenge is a mentor must be your friend. And when they become your friends, they tell you something that is not seen at the face of it. Of recently, I met a senior person in the health profession. He headed a big institution some time back, and we were discussing issues of money, work life, social life. And he told me that every time you see someone growing, advancing, and making big changes in his life, just to know that the resources they are using are not the resources we are seeing. For instance, if someone is working in government facility and is at a U4, that is for a degree level, the take home is around 3.7. So if he's taking home 3.7 per month, and in 1 year, you hear that this person bought 40 acres of land. He has already fenced it, prepared it, and he has already introduced new animals in the farm. Do you want to convince your heart that it's 3.7 that we know because it's at UFO and government pays every month? And that's exactly what they are taking home. Do you want to convince your mind that this is what this person is earning? That's a question that we can reflect on. But the point is, even when you're looking for a mentor, you need a mentor who is your friend, who will eventually become your friend, who will look for you, whom you can easily talk to, whom you will not need to seek for appointment, and who will add value to you. I have just 30-second reflection question down. You may not post. If you want, you can post. And it asks, think of one person who shaped your professional journey and what they did specifically. For instance, for me, when I finished senior 4, my father picked my results and gave them to a friend who was a teacher by then. So that teacher went to a school and asked for my admission. So they saw the results of my O level, and in their wisdom and hearts of hearts, they were like, this guy can do PCB maths. And they gave me admission of senior 5 PCB maths. And trust me, friends, I really didn't have control over it. But because they gave me the admission, I said, okay, that's what I'm going to do. So, in his wisdom, he wished that I could be a medical person in the future, but it's very hard to achieve it. We can now just attest to it because we have been able to do it. But in his wisdom at that time, that's what he wished that this guy, based on how he's performing O level, I think he can perform well in A level and eventually will do a science course at the university. So think of that person who shaped your professional journey and what they did. And then reflect on that statement and imagine what that person did. Who are you currently doing that for? Is there someone who wants to make a comment on that point? Because we are on mentorship. Even professors are mentored. And even those who have achieved, there is something they haven't gotten. Anyone to make a comment? Are we mentoring anyone? Let me see in the chat. I can't see the chat. I don't see a comment in the chat, but
Yes,
it's just a
yeah,
reflection. Yes,
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 Mr.
please.
Daniel, yeah, I can say that personally, I have some people whom I'm mentoring, and also I have various mentors.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent. And trust me, friends, mentorship doesn't mean that you have to do a lot of things. But actually telling someone who has reached 34, 35, and you're advising them to make a family is also mentorship. So it's not really the complexity of the English terminologies. But if you're redirecting someone to follow a certain path that will help them in the future, then you're doing amazing job. I can't finish without talking about workplace issues and burnout because it's one of the major issues that actually affects our thinking process. One of the um, the issue I've not discussed it so much, but I think it's a very key determinant of personal life is having time to think for yourself. It's very, very important. I have seen friends of mine who are working in 2 or 3 facilities within Kampala. But I can tell you, friends, the deliverables are not so much different compared to who is working at a single facility. And the challenge is they do 12 hours at one facility. In the next 12 hours, they're at another facility, and that can actually be done for a full year. So the only time you have to rest is at the facility when the patient numbers are not so high and you want to get a nap for 40 minutes or 1 hour and you resume work. So eventually you have a fatigue, a long-term chronic fatigue, and you don't have any single moment to reflect on self, plan for yourself, and plan for your future. And these are compounded by a number of issues, understaffing, our family backgrounds. I know most of us, when you finished, then you supported your young one, then you have another person you're supporting currently. So you want more resources to help you support your siblings, your parents, a number of things. You want to establish your own project. So the assumption is if I worked at facility A and B, then I will accumulate maybe 6 million or 4 million or 2 million. Then in a year, we'll have this and this. But if you don't have time to think for yourself, the time to call your mentor and meet and say, this is what I project for the next year. How do I achieve that? Then the burnout will cause more harm than good. We have challenges are known, but then we need to also think of how do we manage and move out of these challenges. We are not going to fix understaffing. We are not going to fix low salaries in private facilities. We are not going to fix issues of promotion. We are not going to fix issues of gender. My friends who are male on the call, you know that. But we need to have time and look for those people who are better than us and ask them, how do we achieve the other vision that we see that can be actualized at the end of the day? Do we form groups that are profitable, that are innovative, that are knowledge hubs, such that every time I have a crisis, then I have someone to ask, can we utilize annual leaves to travel and go to the village and reflect that since I graduated the first degree, the second, or the diploma, now a degree, have I made change? Have I changed as a person? Has my family changed? Has my friends seen something out of me? And of course, uh, there are some counselors that can help to address these things. Lastly, we need to embrace digital learning. We need to look at these platforms that can give us significant information, such that we make right choices. I will not forget to mention the issue of volunteering. Volunteering is very weird because we are in a poor country. So you don't want to waste your 3 months at an institution. But it's a strategy to understand institutional culture and forming networks within those institutions, creating more friends, friends of purpose in those institutions to ensure that we become employable. For instance, if you have never implemented a UN or American funded project, it's very hard, very, very hard to be a project officer. But someone who understands the culture of US funded projects, who has implemented some projects, it will be easier to penetrate systems. So we cannot downplay the issue of volunteering, but it has to be in caution because we have periodic expenses that we have to offset. So it's something that you have to calculate within your heart and say, can I sustain myself for maybe the next 4 months? Can I build something within this organization? I can attest to you guys, there are some people who are working in Mulago arrangements because they knew the system, they had made friends, they had made connections. This one cannot be taught, but from I can tell you. Then there is issue of entrepreneurship because the money we get now, I'm not sure whether we shall keep getting it until we reach 50 years, save for those who are in government. But if you are in a private facility or an NGO, a CBO, to invest, invest in businesses that are not over-regulated, that are not so formal. And the point I'm driving home is that businesses that are over-regulated, they take out a lot of revenue at the end of the month. Let me give an example of a facility like a pharmacy. All of us can start pharmacies and we may have capacity to run them. But to start a pharmacy, you need a bigger business room that is above 24 square meters, both sides. It means that house is going to charge you around 700 or 500 if it is in a busy place. If it is out of Kampala in an upcoming town, maybe 350 or 400. You need to put a ceiling. You need to make sure that it has tiles. It can be paper tile or these other modern tiles. You need to make the place fancy. That will cost you around 10 million. You need a pharmacist who is going to charge you. Normally, their minimum is around 1.5 every month, who is never there, but you're paying him every month. Then you need two nurses on the station. They are going to charge you. Normally, in most pharmacies, they are paying 600, two of them 1.2. So you find that to make sales, you need to make around 1 million every month to sustain that place. Now compare that with someone who is doing farming, goat farming. You need boys who finished P7 and for some reason they did not go to school and they are able to work at 200, 150. The only cost is a caricide, spraying, making the farm neat, and that's all. So I would encourage friends, as we want also to be entrepreneurs, look at businesses that are not over-regulated, that do not attract a lot of expenses, yeah, monthly recurrent expenses, that do not need initial investment that is not part of the business itself. That would be the message from here. So, friends, we need to wind up. I don't know the plans we have for the next 12 months, but what I've learned is that if we do not document something, if we assume that if we put it in our heads, it will keep there, then we are cheating ourselves. We need to make a kind of a work plan or something like a plan and say that next year I want to go for a degree program. So when you set the goal that if I had a diploma, next year I want to start to enroll for a degree program, then you start to save money. Then you start to look for the school that will fit within your daily activities. If you're working in Mulago, then you're saying, if I went to Aga Khan, if I went to Victoria, if I went to IUIU, if I went to Uganda Matters, I can maintain my job, but also study. Then you start to look at fees structure of those institutions. Where do you find some kind of flexibility? You start looking at payment terms. There are some institutions that will chase you. There are some that will tell you will not see results, but you study. There are some that will tell you pay for only the modules you want, then you can shift some modules to the next semester. So when you set a goal that next year I want to start, then your head starts to rotate to think about how should I achieve the goal. So this framework is more of a dummy, but the most important thing is to set targets. When you set targets, then you look at what attributes do I need to achieve that target. But if you don't set it and write it down and make it part of you, then trust me, friends, it will be very, very hard to achieve it. So, in summary, we looked at Uganda's nursing landscape. Save for other things we didn't comment about it. There are a lot of institutions that are coming, that are training. Degree programs are almost in every university now. unemployment is very high. So as we are making career choices, we must contextualize and say, am I keeping in the nursing profession, or should I slightly change but improve my opportunities for earning out of my books? We talked about the pathways, the clinical, academic leadership, and policy. And we said that these pathways are guided by the values, and the values shape the career progression. And the quote was that uh, however much, whatever you do, if your values are misaligned, then it will be hard to achieve uh, your targets or your expectations. Then we talked about licensing, CPD, and mentorship. These are very key because you don't want to be caught off guard. It will be unfortunate if one of our friends who has attended this session is tossed because he did not have the minimum number of CPDs. And this can be achieved very easily. For instance, if you publish a paper, if you did research and you published your paper, it earns you around 15 CPD points. And I think we need a minimum of 50. Now imagine in 3 years you publish 2 papers, then you are a co-author on one, you already have 50. You attend a national conference, then you have already your CPD points. Then we talked about burnout and strategies to overcome it. And the key point under that was utilizing your leave. It is a legal requirement, or it's one of those mandatory expectation from an employer to give you your leave, especially those who are in established formal sector. But that leave should be for thinking process. What should I do? What have I done wrong? What have I done well? Where can I strengthen the good and where can I cut the bad habits? I will finish from here, but make 2 comments. One is that I will refer you to a small book. It's called Atomic Habits, and it talks about those small changes that have a very great impact on our behaviors, on our ways of life, on our organizations, on our whatever I want to do. So I will encourage you, friends, if you can read that book, Atomic Habits, it's very, very good. Then the second comment I wanted to make is that as a member of the Association of Graduate Nurses and Midwives of Uganda, we have an upcoming conference, the first of its kind. I think the date, if I'm not mistaken, is 11th May, before we celebrate International Nurses Day. And I would encourage you to submit your abstracts. If you have been doing a quality improvement project within your facility, please analyze the data and submit an abstract for presentation. If you have your ongoing research or you have already published your results, but for dissemination purposes, you can still prepare an abstract and submit. That's all from me, friends. If you have something to comment, to add in the discussion, you're most welcome.
Wow, thank you so much, surely, Mr. Dan. When you're really delivering your message, I feel like you are talking to me personally. I was just downloading your wisdom. And I think I can say that really I'm not the same how I started the webinar. And I do think also my colleagues really have not remained the same. We have some few questions which are in the chat. One from Amber was he appreciated you, Mr. Mulamuzi, for the wonderful presentation. And he was asking you to talk about internship for nurses doing a completion program. And does talking about internship for nurses doing completion program, diploma to degree, and that's where you have done and so that's where you have done a bachelor's in nursing science, matter as long as it's accredited. Surely I've not gotten clearly your question, Mr. Amba. Maybe if you can put it right, or you unmute and really make it clear for the question to be straightforward to our presenter for good answering. As we wait for you, another person is from Charles is asking who is the author of the Atomic Atom book. I think
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ahawe. So the author of the Atomic Habits is James Clear, and it's the cover page it has a description of tiny changes but remarkable results. And one of the key highlighter in that book, yeah, there are very many highlighters. But when he was talking about enhancing environment, they also mentioned that if you want to read a textbook, then create a bookshelf in the dining room, because you're going to see that book every day. When you're taking water, when you're drinking juice, when you're having meal, even when friends are at home, you're going to see those books in the shelves. So it will encourage you to read and read and read. And it's James Clear, Atomic Habits, the tiny changes, and that result into remarkable habits. Amber, please come in. I see your hand is up.
yeah.
Thank you, Awe, for moderating this session, and thank you, Mlams, for this wonderful presentation. I wanted to clarify on my question that I asked in the chat. One, I wanted you to briefly comment about the internship program for the people doing completion program. What is your take? What's your view? Where is the future? Then two, with different mentors, yes, it is true. Several universities have started BNS programs, both completion and for direct entrance. But we know that with different facilities, sometimes we face different challenges. Okay, with the different institutions, you hear some issues. What are those things that one should look out for if they are to do a certain program at a certain university? I've heard of people who have even done medicine in certain institutions. You do it for 5 years, and then you realize the course was never accredited, or that institution was never, maybe given authority to do that course or something like that. Do you think where one does the program matters? Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's a very excellent one. Let me start with the last question. So, where you do the program, if you want to be an academician, matters. If you don't want to be an academician, if you are going to be a local product, it may not matter so much. Let me approach it in this way. If you want and you want to do masters very fast, then you want to do it from an institution that has, one, the program should be accredited by National Council for Higher Education and approved by Uganda Nurses and Midwives Council, such that when you graduate from such an institution, the council will register you and eventually become a professional. That is one, and it is very, very key. I know there are very many universities. There are some you see, I don't know. I don't want to undermine an institution, but it seems every institution now is teaching nursing. But as an applicant, your interest is it accredited by National Council? If you go to the website, it can show you that this program is active or it has expired, and it has implications. The second issue that is very key, if you want to do a master's program and you're from a private facility, a private institution, ensure that your private institution has a charter. A charter is a registration standard that recognizes universities to have done full registration, because the process starts with provision licensing. Then after provision licensing, they give you a charter. Normally, it's given by the head of state. So when your university is chartered, then you can do masters in any university in the world. Other issues of ranking coming from a very poorly ranked university is okay, but if it has a charter, you have higher chances. We have friends who have not been admitted to Makerere because they studied their programs when the institutions had no charter at that time. And sometimes the first degree is determined by the socioeconomic status and the performance. So at that point, you may have studied from, let's say, let me use Great Lakes University. But now you have accumulated some funds, you want to come to Makerere. Now, if Great Lakes University had no charter, Makerere would not admit you, because the charter status expects you to maintain the admission requirements of a charter. So it means you will have to be forced to go to where you studied from because you didn't have a charter by then. And that said, a program that is not accredited and approved and recognized by two entities, that is the National Council for Higher Education and Uganda Nurses and Midwives Council, may put you in a very difficult spot, even if when you have the papers. Because if you're not licensed by the council, then the government or the local government may not take you. But you may work in the clinics. But no one wants to be in the clinics forever. Everyone wants to focus at the bigger part. I don't know if I've answered that. The second is guided by four policy documents. One is the internship policy. We have a very new internship policy that was signed by Cabinet in October last year. And after the development of the policy, the government has gone ahead to develop the implementation guidelines and standards. The second document that guides the internship are the licensing and registration standards of Nursing Council. Now, those documents are very key, and they provide a framework for which we practice. Now, the new policy states that pharmacy, medicine, nursing, and midwifery are expected to do internship before graduation. That is what the new policy says. So what they have done, they have shifted internship because it used to be a uh, post-training activity, but now they have made it pre-graduation activity. So they have shifted internship to be part of the training now. That is what the new graduate from any institution, then you should provide a proof of completion of internship. That is one. Now, the second is from the side of Nurses Council. The standards for licensing and registration is that you must prove that you've finished internship, irrespective of when you graduated, because for them, they have not yet now changed the licensing guidelines. If you have finished internship and you have institutional certificate and transcript, you're fit to be licensed. Now, the dilemma is now that ministry went ahead and waived off internship for extensors, but they did not provide an instrument to the Nurses Council as a reference document. So that means that if council went ahead and registered the extensors, it will be a dilemma because your registration and licensing standards, your requirement is you should prove or you should provide evidence that you completed internship. So now it's, I think, a dilemma at hand that the two entities, the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health and the Nursing Council should address. And it may take time, but it will eventually be addressed. There's someone whose mic is on. I don't know, Amber, if I've been able to make a comment on all of them. There is some question I saw popping up in the chat. Let me see if I can see it.
Yeah, it's read. Someone
Who
wants to
is the
know.
author? That one is cleared. What is the quickest way to become a nursing educator? Abbas, you're breaking?
No, it's okay. I was reading the question. Thank you.
Okay. I can see nursing educator. So the policy from Ministry of Education is that to be a teacher of certificate holder, then the teacher should be a diploma person. If you want to teach certificate, then you as a person, as an instructor, at least you should have an education more than the recipients of the knowledge. If you want to teach diploma people, then the expectation is that you have had education training at the degree level. If you want to teach bachelor's, then you should have a master's, and so on and so forth. But here is the other framework. If you have had a degree in nursing or you have a diploma in nursing and you want to cross from clinical to education, then you must undertake a training in medical education. There is a postgraduate, but there is also a degree direct. For those who are coming from diploma, they do medical education at degree level. And those who have a degree, you can do a postgraduate diploma in medical education. And that gives you a ticket. Quickest response I can provide, Jorin. Okay, I don't think there is any other question for the interest of time,
Mr.
not holding
Ramsey,
people online. If there is a quick one, we can.
Amber had
Yes,
a
please.
question. Was I'm asking a question for Marion. She was asking about master's program in oncology nursing, if you know anywhere where she can find a program.
I think that program, I don't know the institution in Kenya because here we don't have the accredited program for oncology nursing. But I understand that Uganda Cancer Institute has started some fellowships also. I don't know if it includes such. And recently, KIU started programs. I don't know if they are included. Maybe we can all search and find out. But I understand that Kenya has a lot of specialized courses.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Mramzi, and everyone, surely. Then another question is, where can we go for neonatology? I think
Masters started masters in pediatric nursing. I don't know if the course content includes neonatology, but they have masters in pediatrics, pediatric nursing. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey. I can see Amber's hand up. Maybe we'll conclude with Amber's question. Amber, you can unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you. Mine is actually just a comment regarding to somebody who wanted to become a nursing educator, something like that. And Mr. Mrams was highlighting that somebody can actually come from a diploma and they do a bachelor's education in medical education. I have seen, I don't have enough information, probably somebody can search about it, but I've seen some people that were initially who finished diploma and actually went for that course. They were told to again to go back and do a BNS, that you cannot teach nurses when you've not done a bachelor's in nursing. So you have to go. I know some people who had to go back for them to do a Bachelor of Science in nursing on top of the Bachelors of Science in medical education that they already had. So I know that maybe to get some maybe promotions or something like that, probably it's this person who is really interested in this is one thing they would consider to go and research about. Yeah, but I think there is that new development. Personally, I don't have enough information about the same, but it could be there. Let them go and search about the same. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Amber.
yeah, I think, friends, I would wish that we end from here, and I will welcome two people. One person is a volunteer who is not on the committee, to really appreciate our facilitator for the knowledge he has shared to us. I know this knowledge, it is paid for, and for us, we are here downloading it for free. And I would wish someone to come and really extend a vote of thanks to our facilitator. And after that, Mama Sylvia, I would wish you to close us in prayer and also appreciating us all and our facilitator. Thank you. Maybe Amber, if you can unmute again and really extend a vote of thanks to our facilitator. Thank you.
Thank you, Howie, for this opportunity. I would like to take this chance on behalf of my colleagues who are on this call and those ones who already left to thank Mr. Mulamuzi for this very educative, informative, and wonderful presentation. I believe it has not left many of us the same. I want to believe that probably it has inspired many of us to maybe think forward. As we saw from his presentation, there is already a vision 2040. So it means that if you're only looking at 2026 and probably how you're going to survive in 2027, people are already ahead of us, and we probably need to think ahead of us. If we must take this career ahead, we really need to think beyond what other people are thinking. Don't look at the current trends. You probably, yes, you need to consider them, but also need to look ahead. So the current barriers probably should not be a reason as why you shouldn't be thinking for your career probably 10 or 15 years later. We believe that the few issues which are there within the councils and maybe the ministry will be probably put in order, and by that time, we should all be able to be among those people who are above the 15%. Probably we should be, according to the national policy, and maybe, we should at least be in those 15% and probably grow it up to around maybe 40 or 50% if possible. Yeah, so we really want to thank you for this presentation, and I believe probably if you could leave us maybe with your contact for consultation, for those of us maybe who would wish out to reach out to you, some of us might want you to be our mentor. You could also refer to us to good mentors, people who have mentored others and you think they are really good and can show us direction, would really be appreciative. So we really want to thank you, and thank you so much, and kindly keep the good spirit. When you're invited, always come on board and share some knowledge. Really appreciate it. I also want to thank the admins of this great fellowship of ours, and thank you also for taking the initiative to look for such people to come on board and they give us this knowledge. Yeah, thank you so much, and I wish everyone a very good night. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Amber. I will add on that. My name is Sylvia. So a good day, by the grace of God, I team lead the Fellowship of Christian Nurses and Midwives Fellowship. I would like to extend my appreciation to Mr. Muramji. I attended the webinar you facilitated, I think, 2 or 1 year ago. And even attending this has been very insightful. Thank you very much for doing the research, for sharing your knowledge with us. We really appreciate it. And as Christian nurses and midwives, we don't just want to be compassionate, we also want to be competent. So I want to encourage us, dear friends, please let's add value on ourselves. Let's realize where you see what Mr. Mramsey was talking about. Align your career path with your values, with your passions. Let's go out there and shine the light of Christ, but we won't do it when we are not advancing, when we are not growing. And what the knowledge they've given us is a very good starting point to say, okay, now I'm going to build myself. May the good Lord bless you, Mr. Ramsey. And I'd also like to thank everyone who spared time, data to come and be here and learn. We will share the recording on the WhatsApp group and the slides also when we get them, in case you missed anything. Thank you, Ahabwe, for organizing and coordinating this. Let's just close in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you very much for calling us in this profession as nurses and midwives. We don't take it lightly. So many people wanted to do this, but for one reason or the other, they were not maybe able to. So we thank you that you've called us and given us such an awesome responsibility to care for people, to teach them. We've been seeing the different domains. Lord, I pray that you help us as your children to go there and stand out, to go there and serve. I pray for everyone here, especially those desiring to advance in their career, desiring to go to school. I pray that you open study opportunities. I pray that you provide tuition. I pray that you guide us by your spirit. And I pray that where you put us, we shall work diligently, whether it is in education, whether it is in clinical service, whether it's in advocacy and research, that will serve with integrity of heart and skillfulness of hand. We also pray a blessing over our facilitator, our presenter today, Mr. Ramsey. We pray that you continue to bless him, bless the works of his hands, O Lord. Go before him, continue to increase him, O Lord. And I pray, King of Glory, that you continue to use him to bless so many people in our profession. And as nurses and midwives, I pray wherever you've put us, O Lord, you strengthen us, you give us wisdom to serve well. I know some of our colleagues are on night duty. Give them strength and wisdom as they serve. And I pray, King of Glory, for everyone here that will be encouraged in you, that will keep growing. And Lord, all this will glorify your name. In Jesus' name I have prayed and I believe. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you and good night.
Good night, sir. Thank you very much again. Good night, friends. Thank you for joining.